Hi, hello, it's Leilani from the Bible in 1 Year. Today we are reading Acts chapter 22. Now, if I have to give a topic or a name for this chapter, it would be the power of a testimony. Let's take a look at what happened here. Now, just in the previous chapter, we read that the people tried to kill Paul. From verse 37 of chapter 21, Paul starts to speak to this crowd. Then in chapter 22, we see that the people listened to him as he spoke to them. In my mind, I'm just trying to figure out what courage does it take to speak to a crowd of people who just tried to kill you. Now, Paul spoke as a Jew unto Jews, and then he began sharing his testimony of his encounter with Jesus, and he mentions the power of the Lord to change lives. When he was speaking, it was as if he was saying, I understand why you have attacked me. I also was an attacker. He basically said, I was just like you all until I had an encounter with Jesus. Jesus made me, and my life changed completely. Now, the same crowd that had tried to kill Paul and had then listened intently to his whole testimony became full of rage when he said a certain word. Now that word was Gentiles. Acts 22 verse 21. These Jewish people were outraged at the thought that God's salvation could be given freely to Gentiles. The Jews of that day did not have a problem with Gentiles becoming Jews, but they were incredibly offended at the thought of Gentiles becoming Christians, just as Jews becoming Christians, because it implied that Jews and Gentiles were equal, having to come to God on the same terms. But we know that there is neither Greek nor Jew. We are all one in Christ, according to Galatians 3:28 and 29. Now, just to shorten the story, after this event, while Paul was taken to the barracks, the Roman officials learned that he was a Roman citizen, and shortly after that, he was released. Now, Paul was an extremely rare individual. I mean, he had the courage to speak to a crowd of people that just tried to kill him. But he was a rare individual. It was a bit uncommon to find an educated, intelligent Jew who was also a Roman citizen. God would use his unique background in a special way, just as he wants to use each one of us with our own background in a special way. We all have a testimony from where God brought us out, and testimonies are stories of God's activity in the lives of people. Now, I strongly believe in sharing of testimonies because it gives hope. And in a lot of circumstances, gives us assurance that if God can do it for someone else, he can do it for me. One of my Zambian friends told me how he was scared to go to mission school because of his past mistakes. But when he arrived, he saw one of his high school friends and said, wow, if this man with the same past as mine can do this in mission school, so surely God's grace is enough. And I can also do it. See, testimony should always point to God's greatness, not how we lack in life. God has revealed a plan to Paul right at his conversion when he said, Paul was a chosen vessel of mine to bear my name before Gentiles, kings, and the children of Israel. For I will show him many things he must suffer for my name's sake. Acts 9 verse 15 and 16. Paul knew the general plan, but just like us, he didn't know how it will all work out. He had to trust God, just like we have to trust God. And how great is it for us to know that we have overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimonies, Revelation 12. We might not be able to see the bigger picture, but we all have an opportunity to speak about God's greatness by simply sharing our testimony. Now, until we read together again next week, go and make a difference. Speak about Jesus. Be blessed. Goodbye.